Argentina. A country of 50 million inhabitants, about 8 times the size of Germany. And an inflation rate 10 times as high. We go to the capital Buenos Aires to find out what it's like to live with hyperinflation.
This constant uncertainty scares me.
Many people here have lost confidence in the banks. They prefer to hoard cash at home. The US dollar in particular is in great demand. Economists estimate that about 10% of the dollar notes in circulation worldwide are in Argentina. To counteract a sell-off of their national currency, the Argentine government has banned people from exchanging more than $200 a month. However, the ban has the effect that the black market is booming, and so motorbike couriers drive tens of thousands of dollars through the city illegally every day. Like Santiago, as we call him, he can't reveal his real name. Every single day he carries deliveries through Buenos Aires. Parcels, letters, and money. It's not a job you train to do at school. I try not to think of my job as illegal. Basically, I'm just transporting a package from A to B. Where the money comes from is nothing to do with me. There are 15 cash transports a day on average. Each delivery, he carries about $1,000 in his backpack through the city. His customers are mainly businessmen. Santiago's exchange rate changes constantly, but it's still better than in the banks. He's not allowed to say where the US dollars come from and who exactly he supplies here. He's only a middleman. Santiago is about to make the first delivery of the day. We reenacted the scene because his customers don't want to be filmed. I'm nervous every time I hand over money. After all, it's not my money, it's someone else's. He meets his client in the Palermo district at the back entrance of a private building. The amount here is the equivalent of over 6,000 euros. If he's caught by the police, he can be fined 10 times the transaction value. If he's caught again, it could even mean 4 years in prison. A dangerous business, not to mention the risk of being robbed. Of course I'm scared. There's a lot of uncertainty involved, but I've got no choice. I have to work to feed my family. He's playing with fire, but it's lucrative. Illegal jobs like this are the result of a country in crisis, whose people live in constant fear of the future. She stays on the right side of the law, Catalina Sarabairus. The 26-year-old has 2 master's degrees and works as a journalist. But that alone is not enough to survive. That's why she has a second job, and even some other little jobs on the side. So her working days often have over 10 hours in a 6-day week. She earns around 550 euros, 80,000 pesos per month.
I pay about 415 euros for my flat, and that's just the basic rent. That's 3/4 of my monthly income. If I didn't have the support of my parents, there's no way I could afford it.
Since 2001, one crisis has followed the next in this South American country, and that makes financial planning so difficult. Argentines have drawn their own conclusions from the past years.
At some point, we lost faith in the banks, so the money has to be stored at home, and that's in all sorts of places, for example, in books. I've had to sacrifice so much already. I don't go out for a beer with my girlfriends anymore, or I can't buy clothes either. The question is always, do I spend my money on food now or on a t-shirt? You have to constantly adapt your lifestyle to the country's economic situation.
Even going down to the supermarket is always full of surprises. So comparing prices and looking for special offers just comes naturally to Catalina.
Today I pay €1.05 for a dozen eggs. In December last year, I would have got 30 eggs for exactly the same price.
To counter inflation, the state has introduced so-called precios cuidados, which means protected prices.
These noodles have got the Precios Cuidados label. This means that the price of the noodles will always remain the same, no matter how much inflation increases. That's the law. These are the same noodles from a different brand that are not covered by the law, so they keep getting more expensive. The idea is not to change the price of staple foods, even though inflation is rising.
To fight inflation here in Europe too, a major French supermarket chain has also frozen the prices of 100 everyday products for 100 days. A little further north, on the border with Belgium, Germans often look enviously across at their neighbours, because there they have the so-called index wage. This means that wages increase at the same rate as prices rise. Germany made headlines throughout Europe with its €9 ticket, and economists have calculated that government measures such as the €9 ticket have reduced inflation by around 2 percentage points. Just get away for a while. That's what Marcelo would like to do. The Argentinian is a greengrocer and buys his produce here at the wholesale market. The potatoes, how much are they now? At the moment, 2,200 pesos. So the price has gone up too. 2,200 pesos for 16 kilos. That's a lot. Yeah, a fortnight ago it was 1,700. Marcelo notes down the prices of each product and compares them with the weeks before. Payment by installments is very popular in Argentina as the debts become less over time due to the decline in the value of the peso. Marcelo still prefers to pay cash. He doesn't like being in debt. There's always so much uncertainty connected with inflation. You never know if things are going to go well or not. I have absolutely no idea if this tangerine is worth 1 peso or 10. All I do know is that I have to give it a value and try to keep my business afloat. In his own shop in the middle of Buenos Aires, he constantly has to increase the prices on his signs, and he doesn't like doing that. Yesterday, these aubergines cost 180 pesos per kilo. Today, they cost 250 pesos. Almost 40% more in one day. To calculate his prices, Marcelo works with a digital system. In this way, he tries to take into account the inflation rate for his next purchases. This doesn't always work. He often has to dip into his own pocket to keep the shop going. The loss of value takes on bizarre proportions. This is the biggest banknote we have in Argentina, 1,000 pesos. And with that, today, I can buy 9 bunches of basil. Similar conditions prevailed in Germany almost 100 years ago. At that time, a single egg cost 320 billion Reichsmark. As a result of the First World War, the German Reich was heavily in debt to its own citizens. To pay off the debt, the government decided to simply print new banknotes. The result? A dizzying collapse of the currency. The German state's war debts thus vanished into thin air within a few months. But not only that. The people's savings were also suddenly worth nothing. Thick bundles of money were now just good enough to throw into the fireplace as heating fuel. The situation only stabilized again with the introduction of a new currency, US loans and reduced reparation claims. And things also started to look up economically, the beginning of the Roaring Twenties. It's impossible to say whether Argentina will also experience a kind of golden age. But just like in Germany almost 100 years ago, it's mainly the lower and middle classes in the South American country that are suffering in the crisis.
Para mí la inflación era inmoralidad.
For me, inflation is immoral. Why? Because we no longer all have the same opportunities. There's a huge class difference. It's a problem for the government, but we all depend on the government now more and more. Some rich Argentines are profiting from the crisis. Expensive restaurants are booked up for months, and they're buying whatever they can because their money might not be worth anything tomorrow. Those with less money suddenly see themselves confronted with more and more problems. The worst effect inflation has had on me is that my children have all gone abroad. They have a better life there, more security, lots of job opportunities. My grandchildren have gone away too, of course, and that hurts. When your family is so far away, that's bad. We can only hope that Argentina will soon make it out of the crisis and be able to offer its citizens more security again.